Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show weekly podcast with me, Sam. By the way, back again for another episode. This week's episode, we'll be looking at the PWR and the big game of the weekend. Bristol Bears taking on Saracens women at Ashton Gate. It's a double header with both of the team's men's side, and it's going to be a cracker. You'll be hearing from both the Bears and the Saracens camp ahead of that one. We'll be also be hearing from the camps of a couple of the World Cup sides after the World Cup draw was made just before I record this. So let's get into this episode. It's going to be a cracker. Like I mentioned, we're going to be having a look at Bristol Bears women against Saracens women this week, and obviously because it's probably the standout fixture within the PWR this weekend. But obviously there are three other games across the weekend, with Bristol being the first game on Saturday afternoon. We also have Loughborough Lightning against Sale Sharks, Exeter Chiefs travelling up to Gloucester Hartpury in a repeat of last year's semi-final, and also on Sunday, Leicester Tigers women taking on Harlequins women in another game that will be attended. But the Bristol Bears women against Saracens women, obviously a massive clash, a repeat of last year's final, a bit of needle to the game, which is something really exciting that probably comes across a little bit in the preview we'll be getting from both camps. So enough of me waffling on. Let's just get into the previews with Dave Ward and Phoebe Murray of Bristol Bears, and also Emma Hardy and Alex Austerberry of Saracens women. Yeah, hi Dave. Just a couple, obviously you touched on the occasion, just kind of how special is it for the players to kind of be running out at Ashton Gate? Probably decent crowd as well.
Yeah, and I think we look at these occasions and we want to make sure that they're absolutely maximised to their full potential. And people say to me, "Oh, why are the girls playing in front of the boys, or vice versa?" We want the crowd to be growing towards the end of the game. We want everyone to be involved. We want the enthusiasm at 12 o'clock to run through till 5 o'clock, and for everyone to have an amazing day out in Bristol. Okay, hopefully, if you're a Saracens fan, but as Bristol fans, we want you to really enjoy the day, enjoy the fan zones. And as I said, you don't have to watch minute-to-minute rugby like I would from 1 to 80. You can watch 60 in the women's game, 60 in the men's game. Go out, enjoy the sunshine, come back in. There's going to be 150 big screens showing the games because they're both live on TNT. Like, you couldn't ask for a better advert of club rugby in England from Saturday at the weekend. And obviously, Bris Vegas has come to town with the weather. So I think in terms of that, I think it's an amazing storyline to start. We've now got to do the product right on the pitch, and that's playing the rugby and obviously scoring tries, inspiring the next generation. All the things we talk about all the time, but now we've got to go and deliver.
And obviously, you've seen Stephen Lewis kind of talking up the women's game, the women's side. Just how important is it to kind of have that one club mentality and the link between the two sides as well?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? You know, I'm in the car park yesterday with Gabriel Ogre, just talking about, he's like, what's the team for the weekend? Got any changes? I want to talk to him about how well he's playing at the moment and when Steve Borthwick's going to give him a call. You know, he wants to talk to me about who's starting in the front row for Bristol Bears women. So I think like the corridor talk is never sort of, we never take that for granted. You know, myself and Tom sat down with Pat Lamb this morning going through the team. And he's getting excited about he's like, we talked about Millie and Wren, and he's like, serious gas, you know. And obviously, but you know, again, like I've had these conversations a few times, but we never want to go away from them. They're very important, and the fact that we are one club is huge for the city and it's huge for us at Bears as well.
And just on Millie and Renika, just how exciting was it to kind of see them in full gas, like you said, at Loughborough the other week?
Well, look, they're both on hat tricks now, and they've been overtaken by Vicky Lappin already in the try scoring chart. So if they start, I think it's safe to say, if they start, then they're both going to be on full form. I think, as I said, they push each other in a really like nice way. They don't directly compete. That could happen, but actually the way that their little friendship and the fact they both got obviously player of the match joint at Loughborough as well, which you don't really like to do, but because those two are kind of in it together, we didn't mind it. I think, like I said, it's an amazing little friendship and bond. And also, like I said, they want to get quicker. They go against each other in speed sessions deliberately because they're pushing each other, and it's great to see as a coach.
Who is the quickest?
Interesting. Millie over 100. Wren would argue her over 30. So it gets interesting at about 60 metres.
And just last one for me, just how much do you kind of relish these occasions?
Yeah, I love it. This is why we do it as a job. Like I love coming to work every day. It's an amazing place to work. But I love match days. Everyone will always ask. You ask the physios, you ask the whole team. We all live for match days. We want to get down to Ashton Gate. I'll be there from 8 a.m. Just making sure everything's right. Our team manager, our head of AP, Gareth, Johnny, those guys will be down there putting the finishing touches on the change room, just making sure that everything's perfect. So when the girls arrive, all they've got to do is perform. And we love that side of it. The whistle goes and the nerves shoot up and the heart rate, and my watch tells me to stop running and I'm sat down. But then, yeah, after that, I think we settle into it and we see the rhythm of the game, and then we see what we can do as coaches. That's where we earn our money. If something's going great, we continue to do it. If it's not going great, what changes can we make? And myself and Tom are learning all the time as coaches, and all coaches throughout any context in their career. Like we think about that final and what about our messages at half time and how much could we learn from that? And that could be, again, crucial on Saturday. If we're down at halftime or if we're up at halftime, what messages will change? What can we do as a coaching team to instill that belief that we can go one step further this season?
Hi, Phoebe. Just a couple of quick ones from me. You touched on Abby giving you your first cap. Just kind of how special was it and how important was it to kind of have quite a good number of Bristol players out there in WX3? Did it help you settle a lot?
Yeah, it was really, really helpful. They were also amazing throughout the whole of pre-season. When 11, 12 weeks ago when I first came in, it was really nice to have the familiar faces. And they've all been kind of so encouraging and so happy for me that I went to WXV and got my first cap. And I think, yeah, I probably would have struggled a lot more if they weren't there.
And just finally, obviously, we spoke to Dave about kind of the one club feel around Bristol with players stopping him to ask about what the team's looking like for the weekend. Is that something you feel within the club, and just how important is it for you to kind of feel at home at Bristol?
Yeah, it's so important. And I think it's so nice to have the backing of the men and Pat Lamb. And we get, we have chats with the men if they're in here and we're crossing over, just how each other's seasons are going. And if, some of them bring their kids and their daughters along to our games, which is a really nice thing to see if you kind of look over and see them on the side. I think Steve and Luatu, I've seen quite a lot. And, it's really nice to showcase that we are one team and we all do back each other. And that's why this Saturday is going to be so exciting, because it's the first time that we've had a proper doubleheader at Ashton Gate. So hopefully we'll get a few more supporters for the women's game as well.
So Emma, just first of all, thanks so much for taking time to chat to us today. Just how are you enjoying life as a Saracen so far?
Yeah, good. It's been a really positive change for me, I think. Yeah, it's been fab so far, through pre-season. It's been really challenging, but I think that's what I needed. And the girls have been great, so it's been a really nice environment, and I feel like I'm getting into it and really settling in now. So yeah, it's been really nice.
And obviously 2 wins to kind of start the Prem season. Just how important was it to kind of get those 10 points on the line, especially with all the WX3 internationals away?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really positive start for us. I think it's really important to get that under our belts at the start of the season. Obviously, we've got a pretty young squad, but yeah, no, it's we've put together some really good performances. So yeah, we're definitely happy going into the next game against Bristol.
And just kind of how much have you learned in those first 2 games? Obviously, like you mentioned, it's a young squad, but you being new to the side as well. Just how much have you learned in those kind of first 2 games?
Yeah, loads. I think it's been really positive. Obviously playing with new players. To myself, I'm obviously not that many people will have played with me before. I've got a few ex-teammates from Lightning, but the majority I've never played with before. So it's been really, really useful to be able to learn what people are like during games and how to best play off people and what different people like to do. So it's definitely been a lot of learnings for me, a lot of experience gained, which was really positive. So yeah, it's been a really good start.
You mentioned former Lightning teammates. Is it nice to be playing alongside Isla again?
Yeah, it's been really good. Isla, Bry, and then obviously we've got Ella coming back in as well. So yes, it's nice to be playing with them guys again.
And just kind of heading into this weekend, obviously Bristol. Obviously you weren't there at Saracens last year, but kind of obviously there's the semi-final loss. Just kind of has there been any kind of touching on revenge or anything in the camp this week?
Not really. It's kind of been like we're trying to focus on us and our performance, and we know if we go out there and we put our best together, then we've got a really good chance of hopefully winning that game. And I think the focus has been entirely on what we can do and the potential to put together hopefully a good performance. So yeah.
And obviously, WXV players kind of dripping back in now to the squads. Just how much of an impact do you think that makes to the quality of the league having such a good standard of international players coming over?
Yeah, it's really strong, and obviously we've got a good contingent of English players, Canadian players, and yeah, it's a reflection of the quality of the league and how strong it is. And I think it's amazing to have that quality here in England. So yeah, it's a really good reflection on the league.
And obviously, Saturday's games at Ashton Gate, a double header with both teams' men's sides. Just kind of how important are these occasions for the women's game and kind of the growth of the PWR as well?
Yeah, it's really special because like I've never played at Ashton Gate before, and that's really exciting stuff. Obviously, such a big stadium, such a big following as well, and hopefully that'll be pretty packed out ahead of our game, and just like getting crowds like that and the experience in front of them is special for us as players, but also getting the league like on a platform where more people can watch it and more people can get involved and then become fans, and it's kind of a cycle that goes like that. So yeah, I think the more people we can get eyes on it, and obviously it being on TNT as well, like it's class.
So, Alex, just first of all, thanks for taking your time today. Just how excited are you for the week and obviously a massive occasion at Ashton Gate?
I think every week's a massive occasion, isn't it? I mean, whether it be Sale last weekend, whether it be Bristol away, whether it was at home. I'm not myself. I'm not too fussed about what stand and stadium we're playing in. It's the opposition and the challenge that that gets my blood pumping.
Is there any kind of thought of revenge for the semi-final on the minds heading into this weekend, or is it all about yourselves?
No, you look forward though. If you look back, it's a dangerous place to be, not just in rugby, but in life in general. I mean, if we were looking back a little bit further, there'd be a final win against Bristol in the cup, eh? So no, it's very much we've talked about how can we be the best version of ourselves. The exciting things about the beginning of the seasons is you just don't know how good you can be. Games like this give you markers along the road to see what you can achieve. So yeah, it's very much looking forward. Don't get me wrong. There's lessons learned from every game, and there'll certainly be reflections from the last time and the last few occasions we've played Bristol. But it's very much like, what can we do to be the best version of ourselves, understanding the threats that Bristol and other teams will cause us, but making sure that ultimately we focus on moving forward and maximising what we can do, limiting what other sides and Bristol can do at the weekend. But it's very much a focus on us and our future.
Obviously, there's been, with the WXV Internationals, where there's been a kind of chance for the squad to shine. Just how impressed have you been with the likes of like Gemma Jo Lincoln shining and kind of stepping up to that next level?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it. Been asked this a couple of times. Last season we saw more than small glimpses of those guys being able to do that, and every season, this season more than any, I should imagine, with the nature of the compact nature of it, you are very much dependent on the quality of your squad, and the reason why Gemma, Lucy, Joya, Amelia, etc., are in the group is because they're good enough. We're fortunate that we see it day in, day out. We see what they're capable of, their potential to really grow. So I think it's people on the outside that go, "Oh, wow, shining." Well, we've seen them shine, and that's why we got every faith in the players that they're going to grow into be. And I think it's really good that they've made that transition relatively smoothly. I mean, there will be ups and downs, just like any players, particularly young players. That it's important that you manage them effectively so that the highs are incredibly high, that they don't get too carried away with what's happening. But then also that, there will be times when it's not going quite as well, and equally, you don't want to get down in the dumps about that. They're very exciting players, very talented, and they've contributed to the early part of the season. They contributed massively last season, and I have no doubt that they'll continue to contribute in a Saracens shirt for a long time to come.
And obviously you've got the WXV players kind of sprinkling back into not just your squad, but kind of throughout the league now. Just how much of an impact have they kind of made coming back in, if they have already?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, not a great deal this week. It's the management and transition of those players. We were aware of the schedules that they've been on, that their outputs, played a similar amount of games to the players at club as well. So it's first and foremost making sure that they're right in the right space, physically, mentally, to then reintegrate. And I think what you'll see is probably differing approaches to that over the course of this week and the next few weeks. You can't make wholesale changes. Obviously, the vast majority of the England players will not be available. We knew that in advance. And then it very much is what's right for the player. You rush someone back, they pick up a knock, a 6-weeker this time of year, this season is quite a lot of the season out. So you're not going to take risks with players and their welfare. And ultimately, you're not going to take risks as well that impact performance. You've got to make sure that players are right and that their integration is right to the wider team so that the performance keeps on going forward. So in answer in short, Sam, we ain't seen many of them for very long. They've been arriving from different parts of the world, different times. By the close of today, we'll have seen everyone through the door, with the exception of some of the England girls. And then next week is when everyone's back in and moving on. So it's an ongoing process, but it's one that we knew would take a week or two. And then in terms of involvement in match day squads, that will take a little bit longer for it to be everyone available. And it's been a real headache for myself and the other coaches.
Just a couple of quick ones from me. Just first of all, just how big is it for women's rugby kind of being that the draw was live on the One Show just then?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I had a conversation with Kat Merchant after the One Show, and like back in 2014 and 17, I can't remember them being a draw. It was just done. So that's really exciting that it was on primetime TV live, and like all the home nations were there, their captains were there and co-captains, and it just gives us a chance, because if you can't see it, you can't know about it. And I think that's credit to World Rugby for getting it on there.
You trying to sell any tickets to Jennifer Saunders for the final next year?
No, I didn't. We didn't really get time to chat that much. Everything happened so quickly in a studio. I didn't really know what happened in a studio before tonight, but it's like camera here, everywhere. So yeah, no, it was really good fun. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't really get to speak to her.
And just last one, kind of what's the excitement like within kind of the Red Roses group ahead of next year now?
To be fair, I think coming off the back of WXV, the players are actually looking forward to going back to clubs. The PWR season is kicked off, and we're a couple weeks late to the party, and we're all so passionate about our club rugby, and we actually love it, which I think is really good for us, because if we're enjoying playing against each other, it's only going to make us better when we come together as the Red Roses. I think the focus will be there, but as well as the focus always being with the red with our clubs, at the back of our mind, our focus is always with the Red Roses and making sure that we are Red Roses first.
What do you kind of know about Spain and Japan kind of heading into, obviously, Ireland you played recently, so kind of what do you know about Spain and Japan?
Yeah, to be honest, Dan, this is probably really ignorant of me to say. I know that Japan and Spain are developing nations at the moment. The last time that we played Japan, and that was the first time that I had also played Japan, was just before the World Cup here in Aotearoa. We played them a couple of weeks before the tournament started. A lot of the girls within our team have had opportunities to play up in Japan. Myself and some of the players who are no longer in the Black Ferns have also had opportunities to play with some of the Japanese girls through the Barbars. And so I know more about the Japan players and Japan rugby as opposed to the Spain players. I know that they're really hard workers, and everything that their coaches tell them they do to a T, and they have this never give up attitude, kind of similar to Ireland, really. The last time we played them, we loved playing them, and one of the cool things also about a World Cup is you get to meet people and play nations that we never usually get to play, and that's the opportunity that Spain will present for us. Kind of like the last World Cup, none of us had played Scotland before, and that was a really enjoyable, fun, exciting experience because none of us really knew what to expect. But yeah, those are kind of, without being ignorant, those are the few things that we know about those two sides at this stage.
And obviously that draw was live on BBC over in the UK, kind of primetime TV. Just how important is that for the women's game that it's getting this platform now?
Oh, it's long overdue, I think. We talk about all these international global events where the desire to watch and support women's sport is only increasing more and more. You see it at the Olympics, and they're saying that this is going to be the most accessible World Cup, with games being played all across England, and so it should be. Thinking back to the World Cup here in New Zealand, it was an awesome event, but it was only held at 2 stadiums, and so it wasn't really accessible to everyone. For the draw to be announced on primetime TV, just shows that people want to watch women's rugby, people want to watch women's sport, and people enjoy it. It's cool, it's exciting.
Yeah, just hi both. I think guess a question to both of you. Obviously, that was live on the BBC over in England and just on prime time. Just how important is that for kind of the women's game that it's getting that platform to kind of grow and reach new audiences?
Just go.
Okay. Well, I think having played over in England, it's been really incredible to see the way that the English and UK audiences picked up women's rugby and really accelerated the growth kind of commercially, excuse me, and over the last few years that I've been there. So I think it's obviously like a good example for us to look to follow back in Canada. And I know the UK or England specifically has been leading the way in terms of women's rugby along with New Zealand, but specifically England with their league and everything and promoting women's rugby. And I think having this live draw and all that on the BBC is just another way that they're really leading the way in terms of the commercial viability of the sport. And so I have no doubt that they'll run and host an amazing World Cup. And this is just the first step in that, and it gets us excited.